So what do you get when an Italian automotive conglomerate partners up with Mazda to build a car in Japan based on the MX-5 platform? Well, other than confusing everybody, you get a really great little sports car. And if you haven't noticed, my vehicle this week is the Fiat 124 Spider, seen here in Abarth trim, which is basically a sports pack. We'll get to that momentarily. But this 124 Spider really is only one of a few vehicles like this sold in Canada that adheres to that classic sports car formula. So really small car, super agile, 2 doors, no roof. And that all means that I've got this car at the wrong time of year. It's the beginning of November. It's been rainy and crappy all week. And actually Fiat called me earlier this week and said, hey Mike, you're gonna be the last person to drive this car this year. So I'm gonna go for a nice spirited drive and talk about why I think this is one of the most dynamic little cars on the road today. But first, I'm gonna shoehorn myself in here to talk a little bit more about that Mazda Fiat partnership. And of course, this gorgeous looking sheet metal. Now, as I squeeze into this thing, it'll become pretty evident that this is a small car, and I wanted to get this out of the way at the top of this video. I'm 6'2" tall, and I do not fit in this car. It's uncomfortable for me to drive any more than about 20 minutes. In fact, I had to change my plans to take a little bit of a road trip, see some fall colors, hit some twisty roads, because that was about a 3-hour drive, and after about half an hour, my lower back is sore. So I think if you're 6 feet or under, you'll be okay, but tall drivers beware. So let's get back to that Mazda Fiat partnership, because that is a little bit unusual, although there's precedence. Now, Toyota, Subaru got together a number of years ago and worked together on a little 2-door sports car that ended up being fairly successful, and that is the BRZ and the FRS or GT86. And I have to say, if you're looking to build a great little sports car, the MX-5 is an excellent place to start. So this 124 Spider is built by Mazda on the same assembly line that they build the MX-5 on. So similar architecture, some fundamental mechanical differences, primarily the engine and a couple of other things we'll get to momentarily. But when you sit on the inside of this 124 Spider, it becomes very obvious that this is basically an MX-5. I mean, other than a couple of more upscale touches in the 124, the only differences really that I can see is that there's a Fiat badge on the steering wheel and the seating surface is a little bit different. But again, if you're looking to build a nice, tight, little tidy interior, the MX-5 is a great starting point. Very driver-focused layout. I love this big red tachometer right in the center of the dashboard here. The 6-speed transmission is right where you'd like it. All the dials are simple, intuitive, not very many buttons in here. The infotainment, probably a low point. For me, it's a little bit small, 7 inches. The graphics aren't nearly as bright or as clear as some others on the market today. But to be honest, I'm not all that concerned with that particular thing on a car like this. Other low points for me, these silly cup holders here, which are shallow. And of course, due to my size, I have an issue where whenever I'm shifting into 2nd, 4th, or 6th gear, I hit this cup holder. So I end up using the passenger cup holder, which means that I'm reaching across my body to take a drink. Furthermore, when you've got a bottle of water or anything in these cup holders, this is the only storage cubby available in this car, and you can't open it all the way. So I've got a bottle of water in there now, and my wallet and sunglasses and so on. That's all you get. No glove box, no side cubbies here on your door. So in terms of practical day-to-day car stuff, this 124 Spider doesn't really excel. But then again, this is all about the driving experience. So what I want to do now is get out on that open road and talk a lot more about why this is such a great little dynamic car. All right, so let's go for a drive. And you know what? I'm gonna put this top up because it's looking like it's gonna rain. It's a little bit cold out. Now look at that one-hand operation. Fiat says 5 seconds to get that top up. I say it's more like 2 or 3 seconds. So a big time bonus there. So let's go for a little bit of drive and talk about what makes this car so dynamic on the road and why people are always raving about the MX-5 and the 124 Spider. Let's start with what makes the MX-5 and the 124 Spider different. Here's a big one. The only body panel shared in common between the two is the windshield surround. Personally, I like the 124 Spider with its throwback European roadster thing, whereas the MX-5 is very contemporary, a little more angular, and very Japanese looking. Another point where the two cars diverge is the power plant. The MX-5 is powered by a naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that needs all of the revs in the world to produce any power. Fiat has gone a very different route with their choice of power plant. This 124 Spider is completely different. So it's a 1.4 liter turbocharged engine, so small little displacement with a big old turbo planted on top, and that means you got to keep it on boost. So for this car, anything over about 3,000 RPM has a nice little torque shove. 164 horsepower in this car, 4 more horsepower than the standard 124 Spyder because of that Abarth Sport package we've optioned here. But here's the key, 184 foot-pounds of torque, which means you get a nice little shove in your rear end, anything over about 3,000 RPM. Now below 3,000 RPM, this thing is anemic, which can ruin your fun around town, especially if you find yourself in the wrong gear, but you won't, because we've got this lovely little 6-speed transmission. For 1,500 bucks, you can get an automatic 6-speed. Let's not even go there. You buy this car, you get the manual transmission. This is a longitudinally mounted 4-cylinder engine, which means front ways to back, and it's driving the rear wheels only. So that's the classic sports car formula. Combined with the low weight of this thing, it's less than 2,400 pounds. To put that into perspective, that Type R that I just got out of last month, that's a featherweight as well, but it's just under 3,100 pounds. So this thing is substantially lighter. So that 164 horsepower, 184 foot-pounds starts to sound not half bad at all. But really, this car is all about the cornering. And because of that independent rear suspension, this great steering feel, it gets a little bit up on the suspension. There's quite a bit of body roll, but once you get that weight transfer in, it just feels excellent, and it's so controllable. Just a little bit of input from the driver. You can just get off the throttle to transfer that weight, to bring it around the corner, and you can play with it. I found that with this colder weather and these narrow 205 section tires, the car will actually allow itself just a nice little controlled slide. Now we're on public roads here, so we don't go crazy, but it's very forgiving. Such a flickable, controllable, rewarding car to drive, and man, I've just had such a fun time. So how much is all this fun going to cost you? Well, you can get yourself into a baseline 124 Spyder for just under $31,000, which is not half bad. But the problem with that car is it's extremely basic. On the other end of the spectrum is the Abarth edition, which I have right here. It's the most performance-oriented version of the 124, and it starts at just over $37,000. What does that give you exactly? Well, it gives you that completely different looking exterior bodywork. So much more aggressive front and rear fascia. You're getting the quad exhaust pipes. You're getting the upgraded 17-inch gunmetal wheels. In terms of performance, you get the limited slip differential. You're getting a strut tower brace and a couple of other nice to haves, which I think is actually not a bad value for that additional $7,000. But they haven't stopped there. There's a $5,500 luxury package added to this car, which includes some things which frankly I think should probably be standard on a car that was just around 40 grand anyways. Navigation, for example, LED headlamps, adaptive headlamps, some safety features like blind spot assist and cross traffic alert, a backup camera, things of that nature. So $5,500 for that, a little bit rich. But wait, there's more. This lovely black painted hood and the rear deck lid is called a Heritage Racing Stripe, and it's hand painted apparently, and it goes for a cool $2,995. So I love the way it looks, but if I was buying this car, you can kiss that goodbye. I'm not paying $3,000 for a racing stripe. So all in all, my tester is the real McCoy. It's gussied up beyond belief with the luxury package, the nice paint, that Heritage Racing Stripe. After a $1,800 destination charge, we're looking at $49,380, which means it's no longer an inexpensive or affordable vehicle. But I have to tell you what, I'm not quite sure what else is on the road today that delivers this type of fun, this type of pure driving experience for anything under $50,000. Well, this 124 Spyder really does deliver that classic sports car experience. High points for me, the style. I think this car looks great. It's got that classic throwback Italian roadster look. I'm a big fan, especially with this Abarth trim, the black hood, and the rear deck lid. Now, more importantly than that is just the way this thing drives. For the money, I think it's one of the most dynamic, fun to drive cars on the road today. And I actually think it's a great car to learn how to drive quickly on because it's forgiving, it responds really well to driver input, and it doesn't overpower you. So what do we have here? A great looking sports car, tons of style, and great driving dynamics. For me, this is a 10 out of 10 on the fun meter. For Motormouth Canada, my name is Mike Gurr. Thanks for watching.